Well, listen, I know you didn't stay up to watch Joe Biden last night. Joe Biden didn't stay up to watch Joe Biden last night, but you know who did. Election Wire Live every night during the DNC, 7:45 p.m. Central Time. Tonight, they'll be joined by Carolyn Downey and Stephen L. Miller to analyze all the goings-on at the Democratic National Convention. So, last night was Joe Biden's funeral, and it had to be awkward for him. Many people have had the fantasy over the course of their lifetime that they would be present and sort of alive, observing their own funeral. They would get to see all the orations about what a wonderful person they were. Very few people get to actually give their own eulogy at their own funeral. And Joe Biden did that last night. The overriding feeling that you get from watching the DNC is these people are so pathetically fake. It is so fake. So last night was supposed to be a unifying tribute night to Joe Biden as they shuffle him off his moral coil. And in fact, Joe Biden showed up to give a speech, and then they literally put him on a plane and they shoved him off. They said, get the hell out of here, and they sent him to California. Now remember, that guy is still the president until January. So I have no idea who's running the country. You have no idea who's running the country. Apparently, it simply doesn't matter who's running the country at this point. But the idea was that he was going to speak in prime time. They were going to give him his gold watch. They were going to give him a big round of applause for his wondrous leadership after having stabbed his candidacy to death and left it bleeding out on the floor. They were going to talk about what a wonderful president he had been. It would be a night of warm feelings and hot flowing tears. And it would just be an emotional, resonant, incredible night when he, quote unquote, passed the torch. And what it actually was the sad spectacle of an old man being shoved off a cliff and being forced to celebrate as he himself was shoved off the cliff. It's like the main character in Darkness at Noon, sitting there in the cell after having confessed to his crimes on behalf of the Communist Party. That is basically what happened to Joe Biden last night. He had to embrace the party at last and feel the joy. And then they packed him off into an icebox and they shipped him off by train to California, where he is on vacation again. But it is, again, that feeling of fakery that pervades this entire enterprise. Understand, the American people are unhappy with the direction of the country right now. There's not a single poll in America that shows fewer than 2/3 of Americans thinking America is moving in the wrong direction. Democrats are in charge of the government. They are in charge of the White House. They're in charge of the Senate. So if you believe that the country is moving in the wrong direction, and 2/3 of you do, maybe you might want to consider why that is. And so when you have a country that is very unhappy about the economy, very unhappy about our foreign policy, very unhappy about the elitism of the critical race theory Democrats, the intersectional Democrats, the people who tell you a boy can be a girl and vice versa, and simultaneously tell you that if you speak differently, you ought to be ousted from public life. If you're feeling bad about any of that stuff, does it work that they are slapping a Kamala Harris happy face sticker on this bag of crap that is their policy proposals? Does that make you feel any better? The entire thing is phony. The entire thing is fake. From soup to nuts last night, it was all phony, it was all fake, up to and including Joe Biden's speech at the very end. The entire celebration was supposed to culminate in Joe Biden giving a warm speech about Kamala Harris and about how he was a heroic figure, Cincinnatus retiring to his farm, George Washington giving up command, and all of the rest of this. And instead, they shoved him off beyond prime time. You understand? He started speaking last night at 11:30 p.m. 11:30 p.m. he started speaking last night. It was really, really, really late. He spoke for 48 minutes beginning at 11:30 p.m. And that's in the battleground states, right? That's in Michigan. That's in Pennsylvania. That's in Georgia. All those states are on Eastern time. So it was a fitting culmination. The Democrats tried to pretend that it was about Joe Biden, and it really wasn't. It was about shoving Joe Biden off the cliff as fast as possible. It's not me saying that. That's Politico, which is a left-wing organization, saying that. Quote, as the Democratic National Convention program rolled on and on and on last night, we got a text midway through from a veteran Democrat who'd been involved in many previous conventions. I think these guys have a big scheduling problem, this person told us, noting that at the rate things were going, President Biden would not address the crowd until well after 11 p.m. Eastern. Do they realize the universe runs on East Coast time? The answer is they absolutely do. It felt a little too on the nose, said Huffington Post's Igor Bobek, with an unpopular president first forced out of office by party bosses. He wasn't forced out of office. He was forced out of the nomination. If they'd forced him out of office, that might have made some sense. He's a terrible president. They kept him in office. They kept his moldering corpse in the White House, in the Oval Office. They could wheel him around, Weekend at Bernie's style, into meetings, and they could manipulate his face hole into making sound and then roll him back into his coffin every so often, all the way until January. But they forced him out of his nomination, and then forced him to deliver his big self-eulogy, his big I give it up for the party speech after prime time when everyone was already asleep. Poll guru Nate Silver said, quote, "You've got to be pretty naive to think the prolonged DNC tonight is for any reason other than diminishing Biden's visibility." That, of course, is exactly right. That is exactly right. And we'll get to Joe Biden's speech, which was, in fact, a complete debacle. It was a debacle. It was him battling the teleprompter. It was him telling lie after lie. It was the worst of Joe Biden, which is the reason they got rid of him. Now, understand, it doesn't matter what the face of the clock says at the Democratic Party. It just matters what the machinery, the workings of the clock are. They switched out the face of the clock for a different face of the clock. It is the same exact machinery underneath. Joe Biden was always a machine politician. Kamala Harris is a machine politician. You can swap out the face. Doesn't matter. It's the same exact machine. But you're supposed to feel the fakery. So the question is, how gullible are you? That is the question for 2024. Just how gullible are you? Are you going to be taken in by all of the sloganeering about Donald Trump being a threat to democracy and how Donald Trump is such a deep and abiding and terrible figure in American public life that you can just keep going with these crappy policies that have wrecked America fiscally, are setting us on a path to economic ruin, have set the world on fire in terms of foreign policy, have opened the door to Russia and to China and to Iran? Are you that gullible? Are you gullible enough to believe what they are selling? Because it is a sales pitch, and it is a bad sales pitch at that. So the question of 2024, how gullible are you? Well, if you're not that gullible, maybe you should change your cell phone service. There's only one cell phone company that gives you free premium access to the media you actually care about. It's Pure Talk. This might be the best offer Pure Talk has ever come out with. Listen to this. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk on a qualifying plan, you'll get a free 1-year insider subscription to Daily Wire Plus. That's right. Take advantage of unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot on America's most dependable 5G network for just $35 a month. And you'll get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus, which is a great deal. The Daily Wire Plus Insider Plan gets you access to our entire library of movies, series, and documentaries, including Lady Ballers, What is a Woman, Mr. Bertram, Run, Hide, Fight, and more. Plus, you get all our daily shows uncensored and ad-free. The only way you can get this special offer is by going to puretalk.com/Shapiro. I've been telling you to stop overpaying for your cell phone plan for a very long time. If you haven't yet made the switch to Pure Talk, now would be the time. Go to puretalk.com/Shapiro today, switch to a qualifying plan, get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. Again, that's puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Don't be as gullible as all those people at the DNC last night. Go to puretalk.com/Shapiro. The sales pitch, of course, begins with fake joy. Joy, 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 joy. And it really is like Ren and Stimpy's happy, happy, joy, joy. They've like got the brain machine on you, forcing you to believe. And there's something peculiarly sinister about people telling you that there's just joy everywhere. It's just joy. It's joy. Do you feel the joy? Feel the joy. It is one thing to say, vote for our candidate. Our candidate's better than the other candidate. It's another thing to say, there's a lot of Democratic enthusiasm for their candidate because now they're excited that Joe Biden is out. It is another thing entirely to pretend that Kamala Harris, one of the most scripted, manufactured, non-genuine politicians in American history, is a representative of joy. That the awful, awkward cackle that she unleashes upon being asked a difficult question. By the way, we are now on, wait for it, day 31 of her answering 0 difficult questions. Day 31, a full month in days. You know, every time she's asked a tough question, she unleashes the cackle. We're supposed to believe that that cackle is not a cackle. It is not an awkward laugh. All it really is an expression of her inner child. She, like Peter Pan, is youth. She is joy. She is a little bird breaking free from the egg. That is who Kamala Harris really is. And she's not just joy. You should feel the joy. And if you don't feel the joy, it's because you're bad. It's because you're mean. It's because you're cruel. Maybe a little racist. That's why you don't feel the joy. Do you feel the joy yet? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? That is the Democratic Party platform at this point. Here is Joy Reid, certainly one of the least joyous people in American public life, suggesting that she's in the convention room and she feels the joy. Nicole Wallace has this smile plastered on as though she fell into the toxic waste vat that the Joker fell into. And here are these two representatives of sheer, unadulterated joy talking about the joy that is Kamala Harris.
I'm going to sum up what I have felt since we landed, Nicole, in this wonderful, beautiful city. Exuberance, joy,
Good God.
I have not, and we were just talking about this a little while ago, I have not seen so many Democrats laugh, smile, sing. I mean, there is a song in the air. I don't know if you can hear me behind me, but there's like a little bit of music playing. People are literally dancing to the tunes in their own head. I think Democrats today, they feel a kind of joy and a kind of relief that I personally have not seen in, like 8 years?
Oh my God, so much joy. Insane levels of joy. Do you feel the joy? F you if you don't. Feel the joy right now. Love it. Live it. Be the joy. God, do you feel the joy? Feel it. Do you feel it? Feel the joy. Feel it. Feel it. Feel the joy. It's joyous. You feel it? This is their campaign. Now, it feels a little fake. Feels a little forced. It's not just Joy Reid, of course. It's Kamala Harris, who trotted out on night one. It's kind of unusual. She showed up at the very beginning of the convention to get a big round of applause after having won 0 primary votes ever, after having taken her boss and shoved him out a third-story window like Vladimir Putin. Here she was showing up to talk about how she sees the beauty of the nation. Oh my, wow. Do you feel the joy? Do you feel it? Do you feel the joy? Because she can slogan it up a little more. She can give you some more pap if you'd like. Here we go.
I see the beauty of our great nation. People from every corner of our country and every walk of life are here, united by our shared vision for the future of our country. And this November, we will come together and declare with one voice, as one people, we are moving forward.
We are moving forward, not back. Okay. Honestly, there are many irritating slogans in American politics. We are moving forward is really stupid. It's really irritating. How precisely would you move back? How? Do you have a time machine? How? Forward to the future. It's Kodos and Kang now. We will go forward into the future, spiraling upward, never downward. Like, what? If you buy this, you are stupid. I'm not saying if you vote for Kamala Harris, you're stupid. Maybe you have reasons of your own. If you buy this crap, if you pretend it's about the joy and the moving of the forward and all of this kind of stuff, it's because you're a rube, you're a sucker, and they are playing you like a fiddle. Question, how stupid do you have to be to not see through all this? Also, you have to be kind of dumb to not diversify. Between the stock market's mood swings and unemployment numbers that make you want to pull your hair out, we are on some kind of weird financial roller coaster here. And then there's the national debt. Well, how can you protect your hard-earned money from this economic circus? I've been telling you about Masterworks for years now. Now, you might be saying, Ben, are you seriously talking about art investing? I am. That is the thing I am doing. Here is why. Blue chip contemporary art has had almost zero correlation with the stock market for the last 28 years. While it's experiencing a slowdown at the moment, long-term, the price appreciation has actually outpaced the S&P. I know, kind of shocking, right? Look, I've been talking about Masterworks for years because they keep delivering results. They've had 23 successful exits with over $60 million in net proceeds going back to investors. You don't need to be a beret-wearing, espresso-sipping art connoisseur to get in on this. You don't even need to invest millions of dollars. Thousands of my listeners have already jumped on board. So here's what you should do. Go to masterworks.com/Ben. That's masterworks.com/Ben. Or just scan that QR code on your screen if you're watching. Past results are not indicative of future performance and do not include unsold works. All investing involves risks. I'm not an investor with Masterworks. See important Regulation A disclosures at masterworks.com/CD. How dumb do you have to be not to be able to see through this? Truly. It's astonishing if you can't see through this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, you have Tim Walz, who is, man, Tim Walz is a phony. My goodness. He knows he's on camera, and so he's bouncing around out there like he's taking a bunch of crystal meth or something. He's bouncing around. He's so excited to be there, Tim Walz. Oh. He's like a squirrel out there, just looking around. Watch this. Oh my God, these people, I can't.
The most unusual circumstances
where are we looking?
History.
Hold on.
Governor Walz
Gotta look back
and his
there.
wife Gwen, watching proceedings from the floor. Out the floor of the convention right now.
Oh my gosh, can't see. I don't understand. Is he a 4-year-old child and there's a 6-foot person in front of him? Like he's literally in the vice presidential box. God, these people. And then his crazy smile at every available opportunity. It's a little much, guys. It's a little much. Meanwhile, we did get some details about Kamala Harris. So, for example, we got Eleni Konalakis, who you've never heard of. She's the California lieutenant governor. That's the reason you've never heard of her. Talking about how she is so friendly with Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris is the embodiment of joy. In fact, she will even call you on her birthday and sing to you because she's just got the song in her heart.
If you're lucky enough to be her friend, she calls you on her birthday, and sometimes she sings to you.
Oh, that sounds awful. That sounds perfectly awful. By the way, who calls other people on their own birthday to sing to them? Is that a thing you do? Seems weird. No? I might call you on your birthday to sing to you, but would I call you on my birthday to sing? Imagine picking up that phone, you're like, it's Kamala, happy birthday to me. But feel the joy, feel the joy. And if there is one representative of joy in the history of American politics, you know who it is. It's Hillary Clinton. Oh, yes, she is here with the joy. A lady for whom smiling looks as painful as the rack. Here she was at the DNC last night. She says, something is happening in America.
Something is happening in America.
Oh, my gosh. What is it?
You can feel it.
Oh, Bill is feeling it.
We've
we're not talking about somebody else's ass.
And
Okay.
dreamed of for a long time.
Oh, my gosh. You're feeling it. By the way, it's got to suck to be Hillary Clinton, right? You lost to Donald Trump, and now you're having your first woman president title possibly stolen by Kamala Harris, whose accomplishments number 0. Like, that's got to be a little sad if you're Hillary Clinton. But don't worry, she's going to force the joy because the joy will be enjoyed. Enjoy the joy. Here's Hillary telling you about all the joy she feels in the cockles of her tiny heart.
Progress is possible, but not guaranteed. We have to fight for it and never, ever give up. There is always a choice. Do we push forward or pull back? Come together as we the people, or split into us versus them?
Yeah, she's not oppositional.
That's the choice we face in this election.
Joy and unity and joy and unity. And then the mask slips. And then they say what they actually think, which is this is all about how much they hate Donald Trump. And how much they kind of hate the American people. Because the American people are a bunch of rubes, suckers, bitter clingers. This is what they've thought since the days of Barack Obama and long before. The days of a Democratic Party that gave a crap about blue-collar workers, long over. The days of a Democratic Party that thought, hey, maybe people who go to church are generally good people. Those are long over. This is the day of the Raptor Democratic Party. This is the day of the elitist Democratic Party that cares only about a cadre of elite people and their dependents. This is what the Democratic Party has become. They are bitter. They are angry. It has nothing to do with joy and everything to do with revenge on Donald Trump. Particularly, here is Hillary letting it slip. Here's the mask slipping. She was speaking, of course, and the crowd started chanting, "Lock him up." Now, typically, Hillary and other Democrats have made a show of pretending that they actually don't want Donald Trump locked up, despite the fact that they have now activated every weapon of the justice system against Donald Trump repeatedly. Here she was nodding along as they shouted, "Lock him up."
He made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. As vice president, Kamala sat in the Situation Room.
There she's nodding along to lock him up, which is what they really want in the end, isn't it? They don't give a crap about the country or its direction. They want their revenge. They can taste it. It's so sweet. Raphael Warnock, the senator from Georgia, who is only a senator because Donald Trump idiotically suggested to the voters in Georgia not actually go and vote in a Senate race in 2021, thus making Raphael Warnock a senator rather than, say, Kelly Loeffler or David Perdue. In any case, Raphael Warnock, he made clear what he wants, which is Donald Trump is a plague on the American Republic. Remember, Donald Trump was nearly shot in the head like 6 weeks ago by people who believe this kind of stuff. Here's Raphael Warnock heating up at that temperature.
Donald Trump's America is the America of January 6th. People who have no vision traffic in division. He does not know how to lead us, and so he wants to divide us. America, make no mistake, Donald Trump is a plague on the American conscience. He is a clear and present threat to the precious covenant we share with one another.
That's what they actually care about. And by the way, the DNC is not hiding the ball. They ran a full ad on how Donald Trump was guilty of crimes. And Kamala Harris, well, she's a prosecutor. Instead of, hey, the system of justice, the wheels turn slow, but they grind finally. Instead of any of that, it's Kamala Harris is going to personally prosecute Donald Trump and put him in jail. This is what they're here for. This is what they want.
In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. This is the story of Donald Trump. His entire life, Trump has believed he's above the law, that no one would ever dare hold him accountable. He lies, he rips off workers, he sexually abuses women.
Hey, when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
He cheats in business. He cheated on his wife with a star.
I mean, Doug Emhoff cheated with the nanny, so
the
there's that.
American people wouldn't find out during an election.
This ran at the DNC, by the
Criminal
way.
justice system. Ordinary Americans have had the courage to find him accountable, time and time again.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Donald Trump, guilty on all 34 felony counts.
For the first time in history, we have a convicted felon running for president. And to take on this case, we need a president who has spent her life prosecuting perpetrators like Donald Trump.
I mean, it's crazy.
Tried overturning Georgia's free and fair election.
Okay, let me stop it there. But this is what the campaign's about, right? It's not about the joy. It's about the revenge. That's what they want. They cannot deal with the fact that Donald Trump was ever president. He cannot be president again. And they want revenge. Well, folks, it is not about joy. It's about revenge for these people. And as we'll discuss a little bit later, I mean, honestly, you kind of hope that Joe Biden has a life insurance policy, which is what you should have a life insurance policy. Policy Genius helps you get the life insurance you need fast so you can get on with your life, before they ship you out to California. As the country's leading online insurance marketplace, Policy Genius gives you peace of mind knowing if something were to happen to you, your family could cover their expenses while getting back on their feet. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies starting at just $292 per year for $1 million in coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid those unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius has licensed award-winning agents and technology that make it easy to compare life insurance quotes from America's top insurers and then find the lowest price. Their team of licensed experts is on hand to help you through the process. Even if you already have a life insurance policy through work, it might not offer enough protection for your family's needs. It might not follow you if you leave your job. Policy Genius works for you, not the insurance companies. That means they don't have the incentive to recommend one insurer over another. Don't put off life insurance. Make it easy with Policy Genius. Head on over to policygenius.com/Shapiro or click that link in the description. Get your free life insurance quotes. See how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/Shapiro. Again, policygenius.com/Shapiro to get started. So fake joy is what they're proposing. What they actually want is bloody-minded revenge. Okay, that's one piece of the fake puzzle. Then you have their fake populism. So the Democrats are still trying to pretend that they are the party of the blue-collar worker. Sure, they are facilitating mass illegal immigration, which undercuts the wage base. Sure, they are pressing forward with a unionization scheme that actually harms the little guy. Sure, they are pressing forward with a set of tax and spend policies that bankrupt the economy and lead to 40-year highs in inflation. But they are populists. And if you listen to them, they are the most populist who ever populist. They care about the American people. Here, for example, is fake populist Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, who is a socialist who drove some 20,000 jobs out of New York by targeting Amazon, but who has spent her entire career bopping around Brooklyn doing Instagram photos and demonstrating how much she cares about the working people by living in one of the nicer apartments in Washington, D.C. and accomplishing zero things.
I see a leader who understands. I see a leader with a real commitment to a better future for working families.
It's time to get into rhythm here. Here we go. She's going to start bopping in a second.
Chicago, we have to help her win. Because we know that Donald Trump would sell this country for $1 if it meant lining his own pockets and greasing the palms of his Wall Street friends.
Oh, yeah. Can you feel it? Okay, so, I mean, really? Some people were very into this, by the way. Some people are like, wow, what an orator. What an orator. Yeah, like a third grade, I'll give you free candy at recess election. What an orator. Come on, bopping around. We're such a country of children if we take this seriously. But apparently there are a lot of children out there. The crowd started chanting AOC because the future of the Democratic Party is, in fact, anti-Semitic socialism.
Thank you, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, for your your vision?
Oh, good Lord. If this is the future of the country, well, then we are screwed beyond all measure.
Thank you.
What a ridiculous party and what a ridiculous human being. By the way, sad news for AOC that a couple of her compatriots lost in primaries because it turns out many Americans do not actually like this agenda. She will never win a statewide primary in New York because she's too radical. But the Democratic Party base, they love her. They love her. Is she a populist, AOC? Is she really? How about Dick Durbin, the senator from Illinois? Is he a populist? He says that Donald Trump won't have a pay raise for you because of his tax cuts. You know where I noticed that wages have degraded radically? Under you, under your administration, under the Biden administration and the tutelage of morons like Dick Durbin.
Want a pay raise? Too bad. The boss just gave himself one, so there's nothing left for you.
Wow, that is some stirring oratory right there. How about a state senator? As they trotted out for some odd reason, a state senator named Mallory McMorrow from Michigan to bring out, we're now doing prop comedy. She brought out a watermelon and smashed it like Gallagher. Oh, no. She'd bring out a giant Project 2025 book that doesn't exist in reality. She had her staff manufacture it so she could slam it down on the podium. Problem is, it's bigger than she is.
Hello! I'm Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow, and this is Project 2025.
Oh, man. So you got the fake populism. Yeah, these are the people of the common man, right? By the way, no one represents the common man worse than Kamala Harris. No one. Kamala Harris is an intersectional elitist. She grew up in Berkeley, the son of two professors. Then she moved to Montreal for her childhood. She has never worked a serious job one day in her life. She hasn't. She worked as a low-level DA, and then she immediately started sleeping with Willie Brown and elevated her way through California politics. That is her story. And then she was elevated to the vice presidency, obviously, by a president of the United States or presidential candidate who was seeking an intersectional representative as VP. That's her story. Literally no one has less of a common person experience than Kamala Harris. And she doesn't know about your problems. She certainly doesn't know about my problems. My problems involve not getting enough sleep, or would if I did not use my Helix sleep mattress. Here's the thing, I'm pretty busy all day, and I can't keep up with that day if I don't get a good night's sleep, so I really appreciate that Helix sleep mattress. Helix harnesses years of mattress expertise and offers a truly elevated sleep experience. The Helix Elite Collection includes 6 different mattress models, each tailored for specific sleep positions and firmness preferences. If you're nervous about buying a mattress online, you really don't have to be. Helix has a sleep quiz that matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress, because why would you buy a mattress made for somebody else? I took that Helix quiz. I was matched with a firm but breathable mattress. I love it. My wife loves it. We are big Helix fans at the Shapiro household. Helix has a 10-year warranty. You can try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will. Helix's financing options and flexible payment plans make it so a great night's sleep is never far away. For a limited time, Helix is offering up to 25% off all mattress orders plus 2 free pillows for our listeners. Just head on over to helixsleep.com/Ben. That's helixsleep.com/Ben. It's their best offer yet. It won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts right now. Again, that's helixsleep.com/Ben. No one represents the common man worse than Kamala Harris. I think a lot of this is going to backlash, by the way. I don't think it's going to work. And everybody knows this. The Democratic National Convention, this is the party of the common man, right? The common American, like the blue-collar American. That's what they say. Well, it's weird then, because the Democratic National Convention kicked off with an introduction reminding delegates that the convention was held on land that was forcibly removed from indigenous tribes. Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation Tribal Council Vice Chairman Zach Pamami and Tribal Council Secretary Lori Melchior took the stage at the start of the convention, where they welcomed the Democratic Party to their ancestral homelands. Here we are, together on our ancestral homelands of the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation and our sister Potawatomi Nations. We also honor the spirit of other tribal nations who traveled westward to this beautiful area. Welcome to the 2024 Democratic National Convention, to our homelands. This land has and always will carry enormous importance to its original stewards, our ancestors, and our present-day communities. And then they talk about how people were forcibly removed from these communities. This is all part of the settler colonialist theory that animates the Democratic Party. The idea being that Western civilization is strange and therefore bad, and that all of the land that Americans currently live on actually belongs to the indigenous peoples from a couple of 1,000 years ago. Never mind that the story of human migration is a story of population movement and tribal warfare and all the rest. The Democratic Party starts from the premise that America was wrongly founded. That's what the Democratic National Convention starts from. The premise that Chicago is actually not an American city. It is stolen land from the indigenous. Does that sound like a blue-collar pitch to you? How about the DNC platform? So finally, the Democrats have written a platform. Now, it's a little awkward, because it turns out that the original platform they tried to release was chock-filled with Joe Biden's name, talking about his accomplishments. So I guess nobody had time to edit. So they just stuck it out there. And they're like, oh, whoops, we didn't mean Joe Biden. We meant Kamala Harris. Because, of course, they had to steal the nomination from him, which is what they did. But what exactly is in her new platform? Here are just a few of the promises. Healthcare should be a right in America, not a privilege. So nationalized healthcare. They're talking about fighting to protect and expand the Affordable Care Act. But the reality is what they really want is a public option. They want to expand traditional Medicare coverage to include dental, vision, and hearing services, universal preschool for 4-year-olds, guarantee affordable quality childcare to millions of working families for less than $10 a day per child, which is not possible without trillions of dollars in expenditures. America's first full national paid family and medical leave program. They want to essentially put in place universal basic income. They want to double funding to repair and expand active transportation and public transit. There's tons of stuff. Codifying national abortion protection, spending more on environmental justice and climate change. It is all just the Democratic machine. Does any of that sound like that is in touch with the concerns of everyday Americans who can't afford groceries right now? I didn't think so. So we have fake joy, which is actually about revenge. We have fake populism, which is really about intersectional elitist crap. And we have fake courage. So the fake courage was, of course, members of the Democratic coterie suggesting that they are really courageous for stepping out front. Like, for example, the coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr. So Steve Kerr is brought out for some odd reason, and he says that speaking out comes with risks. Well, as we'll discuss in a moment, he's not willing to take the actual risks of speaking out in a risky way. If you believe that in American public life, speaking at the DNC is an actual risk, yeah, sure. Sure, Steve. Uh-huh.
I know very well that speaking out about politics these days comes with risks. I can see the shut up and whistle tweets being fired off as we speak. But I also knew as soon as I was asked that it was too important as an American citizen not to speak up in an election of this magnitude.
Wow, what a brave, courageous fellow that Steve Kerr is. My goodness. I mean, probably so courageous that, for example, if he was asked about Chinese human rights abuses and say the NBA had a lot of money riding on its relationship with China, he would probably speak out, wouldn't he? Wouldn't he? Wouldn't he?
Obviously, the big story in the league right now is Daryl Morey's tweet and everything going on with China. Do you have any thoughts on that situation?
Actually, I don't. I mean, it's a really bizarre international story, and a lot of us don't know what to make of it. So it's something I'm reading about, and just like everybody is, but I'm not going to comment further.
Now that's courage. That's courage. By which I mean, what a coward. Seriously, what a and that is the story of the Democratic Party. Look how courageous we are. We are so courageous. Also, we're going to run screaming from the pro-Hamas wing of the Democratic Party. So just yesterday, Josh Shapiro, who should have been the vice presidential nominee for the Democrats, there's only one problem. He's a Jew. And they couldn't have that. Ain't no Jews getting on that Democratic Party ticket. Because after all, they got too many people who love Hamas in the Democratic Party base. Here was Josh Shapiro being a coward and running away from that question. No, how dare you? Kamala Harris never said to me anything about me being a Jew. Yeah, no bleep, Sherlock. You think she was going to come out and say, hey, dude, you're a Jew? No way. That's why he wasn't selected, though. So here's Josh Shapiro doing the bidding of the Democratic Party, of course. Coward.
Now, let me also be very clear here. Anti-Semitism played absolutely no role in my dialogue with the vice president. Absolutely none.
Yeah.
It is also true that anti-Semitism is present in our Commonwealth, in our country, and in some areas within our party. And we have to stand up and speak out against that.
Cool. When? What? Want to name a name? How about naming a name, Josh? Or are you too much of a coward for that? I can... Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Kamala Harris's entire foreign policy team. She met with the mayor of Dearborn in secret, who is a full-scale October 7th celebrator. But God, the cowardice, the absolute cowardice of this party. Truthfully, the cowardice. So the protesters were outside. These are the people to whom the Democratic Party is kowtowing. They were attacking law enforcement yesterday. They showed up at the DNC as per their predictions. Here were some of the protesters who were attacking law enforcement outside the DNC yesterday.
We had people deploy pepper gas toward our officers, throw water on them, throw water bottles, sticks, things of that nature, and they were continuously trying to take down the fence, and our officers responded as professionally as we trained them.
Okay, and here are some of the protesters actually breaking through the gates. I don't know, why do they need a wall? Why can't they just have open arms for their own constituents? Why do they need a wall? Walls are bad. Why? That's terrible. Here they are breaking through those gates while waving Palestinian flags. The wokies for Hamas over here. To confront the police, of course. When they were done with that, they decided to set up their latest tentifada. So they set up like a tent city in Chicago, of course, because why not? They're complete useless people to whom the Democratic Party is kowtowing. Here they are wearing the terrorist headscarves, the keffiyehs, and the Palestinian flag, and all the rest of them at a local park. Here are some of the anti-Israel protesters calling Jews pigs. You know, these kind of people, good people, as we'll see. Joe Biden, coward extraordinaire, actually said that they have a point.
You're at the wrong event.
Well, I just want to show that there's pro-Zionists out there. I don't want Kamala to think that because you guys are the loudest part of the party that you're the majority.
Oh, we're not the majority?
I hope not.
You think pig, racist Zionists are the majority?
I mean, I would think supporting one of the Jews out of
you
Israel.
think pig, racist Zionists are the majority?
I do not consider myself
racist
pig
Zionist.
or racist. I am a proud Zionist.
You're a proud Zionist?
Pig racist Zionist. This is who the protesters are. As we'll see, the Democratic Party kowtows to these people. So we've got fake joy that means revenge. We've got fake populism that actually means elitism. And we have fake courage that actually means absolute sheer cowardice. And this is before we get to the fake sacrifice. So the biggest story of the night was the fake sacrifice of Joe Biden, in which they said that he was self-sacrificial, by which they mean they tied him up and threw him on a burning pyre. We'll get to that momentarily. First, if you've already been to miracist.com and purchased your tickets for opening weekend, September 13th, thank you. We're also getting messages from people saying their local theater isn't yet showing Am I Racist? Well, here's how to fix that. Every single ticket sold right now in theaters already carrying the movie helps push it into more theaters across the country. It's basic economics. If they see that people want to see it, they put it in the theaters. Matt Walsh and the same group of white guys who absolutely dismantled leftist gender theory and What is a Woman are back. This time they are taking on the weird world of DEI. What he's uncovered is both laugh out loud funny and, of course, enraging. The response to the movie has been phenomenal so far. We can't afford to slow down. If you've got Am I Racist playing at a theater near you, please head on over to miracist.com. Buy your advance tickets today. This is how we get this movie into as many theaters across America as possible. Okay, so we had the fake joy that was actually revenge. And then we had the fake populism that was actually elitism. And then we had the fake courage that is actually cowardice. And finally, we got to the main part of the show. And that was the fake sacrifice. Do you understand that Joe Biden is the most self-sacrificial man ever to hold the office of the presidency? I mean, that is a man who has put his life on the line for public service and enriching his family for 50 years and being super duper corrupt and not wanting to leave. And then they actually shoved him into the back room. They put him in the Roald Dahl Matilda Chokey in there until he basically cried uncle. And then they said, okay, fine, we'll cath you up if you actually give up the nomination. But it was sacrifice. Let me tell you, it was sacrifice. So you wonder why they got rid of Joe Biden? Well, one reason is that Joe Biden has no idea what in the hell is going on. Here's a live shot of Joe Biden in the convention hall last night when he first arrived. Not great, Bob.
This is a live shot of President Joe Biden inside the convention hall.
Wow. It must be scary to constantly see death.
To get a sense of the room, to look at the crowd as she will be seeing
randomly
it in a much fuller capacity tonight. Now, the order of the program as she does her testing.
It's the sixth sense. He's looking around. You can just see the Grim Reaper around it. He's hiding behind this person, hiding behind that person. And Joe Biden's just my goodness. Okay, so things are going amazing. So Kamala Harris led it off. She said, look at the sacrifice. It's time to pay tribute to the best president in the history of the United States, who I totally shivved directly in the gut and stole his nomination. And now I want him to leave and go to California and sleep it off on a beach until January. Because, man, that guy's terrible. But he's amazing and sacrificial. He's so amazing and so sacrificial. I'm going to come out here and we're all going to pretend that we love this old man. We love that guy. We love him so much. We love him so much. Man, I can't wait till he dies. I love him so much. Here's Kamala Harris.
And I want to kick us off by celebrating our incredible president, Joe Biden,
who I killed.
who will be speaking later tonight. Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime of service to our nation, and for all you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you.
All he will continue to do? Well, the time grows short, Joe. It's got to feel horrible to be Joe Biden, honestly. Like, he deserves it. And this is my going theory of politics for the last, 15 years, is that everyone in the end gets what they deserve. Everyone gets what they deserve. Hillary Clinton, she ran for 24 years trying to be president of the United States. And then she was touted. She was the person. And then she lost to Donald Trump, a first-timer who she had once endorsed for running for president on the Republican side of the aisle. She got exactly what she deserved. Barack Obama, who spent 8 long years believing that he was the chosen one, a messianic figure in American politics, and that no one like Donald Trump would ever be president of the United States. And then he had to hand the keys to the White House to Donald Trump. Joe Biden, who spent his entire career only wanting to be loved, only wanting to be feted, only wanting to be celebrated. And now they are shuffling him off and they cannot wait to get rid of him. And he has to sit there and then he has to eulogize himself. Honest to God, it's kind of awful and kind of delicious at the exact same time. So yesterday, he was hanging around the DNC and somebody said, "Are you ready to pass the torch?" And let's just say there were some internal struggles going on.
Are you ready to pass the torch, sir?
I am. By I am, he means I absolutely am not. The entire Democratic Party are in on the act. So they're all going to pretend that he gave this up voluntarily, that he wasn't forced to put either his brain or his signature on the piece of paper, which of course is eminently untrue. The donors cut off all the money. Nancy Pelosi went to him and said, "We are not going to provide you any level of support in this presidential run if you continue." Chuck Schumer said the same thing. He was forced out. Everyone knows he was forced out. It is publicly reported that he was forced out. In fact, as we'll see, Nancy Pelosi basically admitted he was forced out, but they all are going to lie to you. They're going to gaslight you. They're going to fib. Because remember, it's about the joy and the unity. The joy and unity of killing the old man so you can replace him with a fresh face. Here is Chuck Schumer acting as if Joe Biden gave this thing up voluntarily. And man, this is why, folks, if you believe these people, you deserve whatever comes down the road politically. You deserve whatever comes next.
What do you hope to hear from your friend President Joe Biden tonight?
Well, what a great patriot. What an amazing man. He always said his number one goal was to stop Donald Trump because of Donald Trump's danger to our democracy. And he actually, when he decided not to run, he showed what a great American he was and what an unselfish, wonderful man he is. I've known him for 45 years. It didn't surprise me.
It didn't surprise you? Are you kidding? You tried to force him out. He was clinging to that cliff by his fingernails and you were stomping on his hand. You're like, oh, what a self-sacrifice. Ugh, can you believe the level of sacrifice that it took for us to disembowel him? And then as he was bleeding out, he gave it up. And then we were like, wow, that was an amazing sacrifice, Joe. Here's Hillary Clinton doing the same thing last night.
He brought dignity, decency, and competence back to the White House.
I like the past tense right there because he's not politically alive.
And he showed what it means to be a true patriot. Thank you, Joe Biden, for your lifetime of service and leadership.
Man, good for Joe Biden. He committed political suicide by shooting himself in the head 8 times, in the back of the head, and then stabbing himself in the back 27 times, politically speaking. Wow, what an unselfish act of total political voluntary suicide by both shooting and hanging himself politically. Like really, truly amazing stuff there. God, these people are such liars. They're such liars. They did it right in front of you. They did it right in front of you. This is the O.J. Simpson, if I did it, of American politics. Like they're there with the bloody gloves on their hands like, well, man, Nicole sure committed suicide. It was real awkward to be there, but let me tell you, I mean, sure, my hands were on her throat and I was like stabbing her at the time, but let me tell you, it was crazy. It was a crazy suicidal situation. Oh my God. Okay, so finally, they trot out the Biden family. And the Biden family has to try to make it clear that they wanted this. They wanted it so bad. They really want. They didn't want this. And this is really pathetic. It's really, really pathetic. So Dr. Jill Biden, the actual president of the United States, she had to go out there and, points for the Communist Party level fealty to the party. Truly It is an amazing thing. As I said earlier in the week, it's 1984. It's the very end of the book. And finally, they have learned to love Big Brother. They've finally come into consonance with the will of the party, and that's the important thing. So Jill comes out, and she endorses Kamala Harris. Now, very few people in America hate Kamala Harris more than Joe Biden. It's been widely reported. Joe Biden despises Kamala Harris, actually for a good reason. It's like the only thing I agree with Joe Biden on. Joe Biden thinks that Kamala Harris is terrible because she had suggested that Joe Biden was a racist and that Joe Biden would have tried to stop her from going to a desegregated school when he was a kid by not endorsing forced busing and all this. So Kamala is hated by Jill. But Jill has to go out there and hand the baton to a person she despises.
Joe and I know Kamala. We have seen her courage, her determination, and her leadership up close. Kamala and Tim, you will win.
And then she says, you know, the reason why Joe stepped down is because he dug deep into his soul. Oh, is that, I was pretty sure that it was the knife dug deep into his innards. Here we go.
And weeks ago, when I saw him dig deep into his soul and decide to no longer seek re-election and endorse Kamala Harris.
Wow. That's what happened, guys. I mean, sure, you watched it happen in real time, but it never happened. It never happened. Okay, so then Ashley Biden, one of Biden's kids, comes out. At least they didn't have Hunter speak. That would have been really weird. But they had Ashley come out and speak and say that he's the most consequential leader ever in the history of the American Republic. Yes, in reverse order of importance, it goes Abraham Lincoln, who held the Union together, George Washington, who founded the Union, at number 2, and coming in at number 1 is the really, really old guy who won a fluke election, proceeded to blow 40-year inflation into the economy, set the world on fire, and then be forced into retirement by his own party because he was such a terrible candidate. So consequential. Here is Ashley Biden.
Dad always told me that I was no better than anybody else and nobody was better than me. He taught me that everyone deserves a fair shot and that we shouldn't leave anyone behind. That's what you learn from a fighter who has been underestimated his entire life. When I look at Dad, I see grace, strength, and humility. I see one of the most consequential leaders ever in history.
Ever. It's like Winston Churchill and Joe Biden. Listen, it could have been worse. You could have read sections of her diary or something up there. Okay, we're going to get to Joe Biden's awful speech last night. So he comes on air at 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. If they could have pushed him to November 6th, they would have. They were like, we don't want anyone seeing this guy. We don't want him here. We don't want him seen. Which is why immediately afterward, they shoveled him back into the crypt and then took that crypt and shoved it into the belly of Air Force One and shipped him off to California. So finally on to Joe. See, we're doing this, 45, 47 minutes into this show at this point. But that's nothing because they forced Joe Biden to start speaking at 11:30 p.m. Now, remember, Joe Biden's daily schedule is he is shut down by 8 p.m. So by the time they got to 11:30 p.m., Joe Biden was physically dead. They had to put him in the back room and take out the shock paddles, and they had to shock him back into life. And he went out there looking like that. And it was not great, Bob. It was really, really not great. So he comes out, and the crowd starts chanting, "Thank you, Joe." And what they mean by thank you, Joe, is thank you so much for leaving. Thank you so much for going away. Here we go.
That was my daughter.
Yeah, it was. How about your granddaughter? You still don't acknowledge her, so that's yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for leaving. Thank you. Thank you for going away. He has never been more popular than when he gave it up. There's a hysterical person. I love that. I do love it. I love that they're all like, thank you, Joe, for going away. Thank you, Joe, for going and dying somewhere. Not here. Get out. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. By the way, I'm totally going to do that at dinner parties. Like if I want someone to leave, I'm just going to walk up to them and be like, thank you, Bob. Be like, for what? Like, for thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Is that like, show It's just amazing. It's just, and it's what he so richly deserves. What a corrupt, terrible person. Hey, so in his speech, he suggests democracy has prevailed. By democracy has prevailed, he means that he won every single primary vote, and then he was shoved out of his nomination for a lady who won 0 primary votes, which is how we do democracy typically, is where there's no voting, obviously, and where you just supplant one candidate for another. Sounds like democracy has triumphed, Joe.
And with a grateful heart, I stand before you now on this August night to report that democracy has prevailed.
Yeah! By showing me the door. Bye.
Democracy.
We love it.
Democracy has delivered.
No one voted for Kamala.
Democracy must be preserved.
And then he started rehashing his terrible Philadelphia speech in which he declared that half the country were traitors to the country. Then he started bragging about his record. And he was like, we did an amazing job, which is why you can't wait to open this trapdoor underneath me and feed me to the crocodiles. Yeah!
I made a commitment to you that I be a president for all Americans.
Yeah, fail.
Whether you voted for me or not. We have done that. Studies show the major bills we have passed actually delivered more to red states than blue. Because the job of the president is to deliver to all of America.
Okay, it'll be okay,
Because
Joe.
of you. And I'm not exaggerating, because of you, we've had one of the most extraordinary 4 years of progress ever, period.
Well, that's why you were going to lose to Donald Trump until they legitimately offed you. Okay, but it wouldn't be a complete Joe Biden speech without recapitulating the Very Fine People hoax. Okay, this has been debunked now by everyone, including Snopes. This lie that Donald Trump said back in 2017 that there were very fine people, not on both sides of the Confederate statue controversy, very fine people who were white supremacists. Donald Trump never said that. He condemned the neo-Nazis. He condemned the white supremacists. They've been running on this crap ever since. But what's amazing about this particular speech is that Joe Biden recapitulates the Very Fine People hoax. And in almost the next breath, he then says that the neo-Nazi pro-Hamasers outside have a great point. The anti-Semites, they're inside the House. They're calling from within the Democratic Party House. Here's Joe Biden once again doing the Very Fine People hoax.
The president was asked what he thought had happened. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "There are very fine people on both sides. My God."
My God. He's lying. That is not what he said.
That is what he said and what he meant.
He's a liar. It's not true. But you know who just said that there are very fine people on both sides? Joe Biden. And here he is talking about the terrorist group Hamas, and he is talking about the Israelis. He's talking about the people who are setting up tentifadas outside the convention center and calling for Hamas and Hezbollah, actual terrorist groups, to win, and who are calling Jews pigs. Those people have a point, says Joe Biden. By the way, this was not in his script. It was not in his script. He literally went off script to say this.
A few days ago, I put forward a proposal that brought us closer to doing that than we've done since October 7th. We're working around the clock, my Secretary of State, to prevent a wider war and reunite hostages with their families and surge humanitarian health and food assistance into Gaza now. To end the civilian suffering of the Palestinian people. And finally deliver a ceasefire and end this war.
Pounding the podium, end this war. Hamas is rejecting the ceasefire. Hamas is stealing the humanitarian aid. But he has to please the Hamasers.
Those protesters out in the street, they have a point. A lot of innocent people are being killed on both sides.
What a trashy human being. Truly trashy. At no point does he say, and the Palestinians who are being killed, that's because Hamas launched the worst terror attack on Jews since World War II, refuses to surrender, and is currently holding babies hostage. You want to talk about somebody who does a very fine people on both sides? Joe Biden, because his party is filled with either morally corrupt human beings or cowards or both. Truly pathetic stuff. He spoke for 48 minutes last night. Just kept going and going. The ongoing battle of Joe Biden with the teleprompter, that continued. He committed last night to strengthening illegal immigration, which is exciting.
Kamala and I are committed to strengthening legal immigration.
I'm glad that he's ready to strengthen illegal immigration. That's great. So he went on and on and on and on. He broke after midnight. It was quite terrible. And then he left. Out. because Democrats don't want to see him ever again. Now, he's still the sitting president of the United States. That's the part that's hilarious. Somebody should ask Kamala Harris why she thinks that Joe Biden is fit to be president of the United States. She is the vice president of the United States. She could invoke the 25th Amendment at any time. She could take over his office. She will not do so. Why? Does she believe that the protesters have a very fine point? What does she believe? No one's ever going to ask her that question. We're on day 31 of nobody asking her that question. But again, it's all lies, top to bottom, thoroughgoing lies, lies and more lies. And it was perfectly obvious to anyone who has half a brain. He's a self-sacrificial man just leaving on his own time. It's a lie. It's not true. He is not leaving because he wants to leave. He is leaving because he was forced out. This is a point Chris Wallace made correctly last night.
The word that everybody is using to describe tonight is bittersweet. It's just bitter. The fact of the matter, I'm not saying Joe Biden is bitter, but, it's like you've been thrown out a window, and as you're falling, you go, gee, it's nice out here. No, he got thrown out of a window, and basically he was forced. There's going to be a lot of talk tonight about how generous it was of him and selfless of him. He was basically forced out by Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
That is right. Nancy Pelosi basically admitted as much last night. She was on CNN and she's like, well, I didn't force him out, but I kind of forced him out. Kind of a little bit. He's very historic, very, very historic. And that's why he had to die.
Have you talked to him is my only question.
What I have to do.
Right.
He made the decision for the country. My concern was not about the president. It was about his campaign.
She forced him out. Oh, how sad. Oh, how sad. Okay, so Joe Biden gets what he deserves. He gets shoved off the stage unceremoniously. But the bigger story is the lies. And the lies are going to continue all this week. They're going to continue all this week and for the rest of the campaign. So are you dumb enough to believe them? Or are you going to see through the faux joy and actually take a look at what is happening in the world? At some point, perhaps it might behoove people to think, what would a Kamala Harris presidency look like? That seems to me the most important question in this election cycle. Already coming up, we'll get into a quick preview of what's happening night 2 of the awful DNC. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click that link in the description and join us.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey. If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gonna say I'm racist. Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you and less for you. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
white
folks,
white
trash, white supremacy, white woman, white boy.
Is there a black person around? What's a black person right here? Does he not exist?
Say I'm racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
I just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist.
Buy your tickets now. In theaters September 13th. Rated PG-13.